Your life, our news. It is in order to make this a reality that we at News First work 24 hours a day while defying all obstacles that comes our way to bring you the latest news as and when it happens. Incidentally, News First marks its 17th anniversary today.
It was on the 6th of November 1995 that the Sinhala news telecast called Ratri Puat first commenced on Sirasa TV. Ratri Puat, which began with the aim of providing news expeditiously, was quickly embraced by the people within a short span of time. It should be noted that MTV channel had already commenced English news broadcasts even before the Sinhala news telecast began. Thereafter, MTV Channel Private Limited, which also began telecasting Tamil news as Shakti News, officially branded Sirasa News in 1998. It was in November 2002 that the MTV and MBC media networks took steps to launch its television and radio news broadcasts under the brand name News First. News First has now taken over the cyber world too through its modern and technologically advanced website, namely newsfirst.lk. Recently, News First made new inroads into the field of new media with the launch of its News First 2.0, which saw the creation of one-of-a-kind news alerts, a revamped website, and the News First app for iOS and Android platforms. The 17th anniversary of News First was marked at the MTV MBC head office located down Breakbook Street in Colombo with multi-religious observances.
அல்லாஹ்வுடைய திருநாமத்தை இந்த இடத்திலே நான்
චරතබික්කවේ චාරිකම් බහුජන හිතාය බහුජන සුඛාය කියන මේ බුදු වදනත් එක්ක
The Lord Buddha commenced his sermons by invoking the Sangha and his disciples to work towards the betterment of others and towards their renewal. For 17 years, this media network too has followed in those footsteps, taking Sinhalese media on a similar journey towards obtaining those ideals. We can see how networks like CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera and France 24 have pioneered investigative journalism. You were the first to introduce this to Sri Lanka. If you think differently, your goals will draw closer. I believe that over the past 17 years, you have acted in this manner while adjusting your lives to this theme. I pray that both senior and junior officials who are employed here will continue to receive the strength and courage to report the news. I also pray that you are given the ability to further strengthen this situation.
உண்மையிலேயே ஒரு குழந்தை பிறந்து
A child learns how to walk after falling over several times. This institution too is like that. We have seen the challenges faced by this institution. Instead of falling behind in the face of these challenges, it has courageously moved forward. They have claimed victory. We see this progress and are happy. I wish to state that News First is at the forefront in public service. As in the past 17 years, in order to bring the news closer to you as your #1 news provider, we are ready to move forward, unafraid, overcoming all challenges.
Former parliamentarians of the United National Party have issued an open challenge to look into whether the majority in the working committee have established Bala Mandala in their respective electorates. They note that in this backdrop, members of the working committee have no right to impose restrictions on inviting party activists for the annual convention.
Today our party is adopting a dictatorial attitude. They are trying to extend the one-year tenure of the leader. This has not received the approval of the public or the party activists. The General Secretary recently stated that only a selected few will be invited for the convention. I would like to ask from all those in the working committee whether they have established committees in their respective electorates. Have they issued new memberships? If we ask whether they have held any Bala Mandala meetings, the answer will be no.
සමාජිකපත් අලෙවි කරලා තිබෙනවද බල මණ්ඩල පවත්වන තියනවද කියලා ඇහුවොත් උත්තරේ බිඳුව තමයි.
මේ පාර ඒ සම්මේලනයේට
This time only a selected number of members are to be invited for the convention. In other words, this is a convention for those who are tagging along with them. With this convention, the United National Party is murdering democracy. If he is a leader with any shame, he should have stepped down 21 times by now. It is still not too late for him to let go of the leadership and go home. We would like to tell Ranil Wickremesinghe to go home and look after his wealth for the sake of the nation, the party activists, and in the name of decency.
නායකයෙක් නම් එහෙනම් දැන් එකවරක් නෙමෙයි 21 වතාවක්
In the meantime, UNP parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayake toured the Paliagoda area this morning.
MP Ravi Karunanayake inspected the 318 water in Madampicha, which was recently reconstructed with concrete. If the opposition can do things like this, then we need to question why the government cannot do it. I would like to remind you that while it is our duty to maintain a clean administration and a clean environment, it is the duty of the people to protect these things. I wish to state that if the others in the Colombo Municipal Council can also work like this, then we will be able to create a brighter municipality very soon.
Returning to one of our headline-making stories tonight, the impeachment motion against Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake has been included in the Parliament agenda. A total of 14 charges have been included in the motion.
The first charge in the impeachment motion against the Chief Justice is the alleged removal of benches hearing cases against the Selinco Group and taking up further hearing of the cases in her court and serving as the presiding judge of the benches hearing the cases. The motion further states that in the subjects of one of these cases pertaining to a housing and property company, the Chief Justice had, acting on powers of attorney granted by two persons residing in Australia, purchased a residence at a housing scheme on Alvitigala Mawatha. In the second charge, the motion notes that in making payment for the purchase of the above property by paying a sum of 19,362,500 rupees in cash to the companies, the manner in which such sum of money was earned had not been disclosed. The third charge reads that the Chief Justice had not declared in the annual declaration of assets and liabilities that should be submitted by a judicial officer the details of approximately 34 million rupees in foreign currency deposited at the branch of NDB Bank located at Dharmapala Mawatha in Colombo in various accounts in the period from the 18th of April 2012 to the 27th of March 2012. The fourth charge claims that the Chief Justice had failed to declare in the annual declaration of assets and liabilities the details of more than 20 bank accounts, including 9 bank accounts maintained at the aforementioned branch of NDB Bank. As the fifth charge, the impeachment motion notes that the Chief Justice's husband is a suspect in relation to legal action initiated at the Magistrates Court of Colombo in connection with offences relating to bribery and or corruption under the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. It further notes that the Chief Justice holds the position of Chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission, which is vested with powers to transfer, disciplinary control and removal of the magistrate of the said court, which is due to hear the case against her husband. The motion notes that as the administration of justice is hindered and the fundamentals of administration of justice are thereby violated, it is unsuitable for Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake to continue in the position of Chief Justice. The motion also notes in the sixth charge that the Chief Justice had violated Article 111H of the Constitution by appointing Manjula Tilakaratne to the position of Secretary to the Judicial Service Commission, even though he is not a senior judicial officer from a court of first instance as prescribed in Article 111H of the Constitution. The Chief Justice has also been charged with disregarding or violating Article 121, Part 1 of the Constitution by making a special ruling of the Supreme Court to the effect that the provisions set out in the Constitution are met by the handing over of a copy of the petition filed at the court to the Secretary General of Parliament, despite the fact that it has been mentioned that a copy of the petition filed under Article 121, Part 1 of the Constitution shall at the same time be delivered to the Speaker of Parliament. The motion also charges that Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake has violated Article 121, Part 1 of the Constitution, despite the fact that it had been decided that the mandatory procedure set out in the said article of the Constitution must be followed in accordance with the interpretation given by the Supreme Court with regard to special decisions of the court. The motion further notes that subsequent to being appointed as a Supreme Court judge, the Chief Justice has acted contrary to the ruling of the Supreme Court in the fundamental rights violation case, challenging her appointment to the Supreme Court. The 10th charge states that Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake heard and gave a ruling in the Special Rulings Petition number 2 of 2012 filed by the Centre for Policy Alternatives, to which the media publication section Groundview had published an article written by her while she was a lecturer at the Law Faculty of the University of Colombo prior to becoming a Supreme Court judge. The motion also charges the Chief Justice with harassing a magistrate who is the sister of a lawyer who had challenged her suitability for the position of Supreme Court judge. The 12th charge in the impeachment motion states that the Chief Justice, who is the ex officio chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission, in terms of Article 111D, Part 2 of the Constitution, has by acting ultra vires the powers vested in her by Article 111H of the Constitution, ordered the magistrate Rangani Gamage's right to obtain legal protection for lodging a police complaint against the harassment meted out to her by the Secretary to the JSC. The 13th charge in the motion notes that Dr. Shirani Bandaranaike abused her powers by ordering Magistrate Rangani Gamage to obtain permission from the Judicial Service Commission prior to seeking police protection, thereby preventing her from exercising her legal right to obtain legal protection. The 14th and final charge in the impeachment motion reads that the Chief Justice had referred a letter through the Secretary of the Judicial Service Commission to Magistrate Rangani Gamage calling for an explanation from her as to why a disciplinary inquiry should not be conducted against her for seeking protection from the Inspector General of Police by exercising her legal right. The impeachment motion goes on to note that through the above actions, the Chief Justice, Dr. Shirani Bandaranaike, has brought disrepute to the entire Supreme Court and especially the office of the Chief Justice. The impeachment motion further notes that a Parliament Select Committee should be appointed, enabling the submission of a resolution to the President for the removal of Chief Justice Dr. Shirani Bandaranaike from the office of Chief Justice in the event the Select Committee reports to Parliament that one or more of the charges that have been levelled have been proved after the aforementioned charges of misconduct have been investigated.
In business news tonight, Minister of Petroleum Industries Susil Premajayantha states that the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation incurs a loss of 72 million rupees daily as a result of providing fuel to the Ceylon Electricity Board at subsidized rates. The minister made this revelation at an event held in Kaduwela yesterday.
It costs 101 rupees to import a litre of oil. We provide it to the CEB at 65 rupees. So we are losing 36 rupees per litre. We provide 2,400 tons or 2.4 million litres per day to the CEB. When you multiply this amount by the 36 rupees lost per litre, the CPC is losing 72 million rupees a day by providing cut price fuel to the CEB. Imagine when you multiply it by 30 for a month and 365 for a year. The debts have not been settled as yet, even after fuel is provided at such prices. When we do not receive the money, we have to obtain loans from the banks and open letters of credit. We have to pay interest on these. So 60% of the losses incurred by the CPC are a result of providing subsidized fuel to the CEB for electricity generation. The pipelines carrying fuel from the Colombo harbour to Kolonnawa were ruptured on several occasions. Pipelines back in services after repairs. 65 families residing in the danger zone removed from the area on a court order. 410 families continue to live in the danger zone. Shouldn't steps be taken to prevent a massive disaster given the regular oil leaks from the pipeline?
Up next is a look at your newspaper cartoon of the day.